Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna do a little declutter moment, spring cleaning moment, if you will. I just have a lot of products that I don't reach for and I don't use, and most of them are still pretty new and like good to use, so I want to try and pass those along. The things that I'm gonna be decluttering, if they're still good, which almost all of these still are, I will be probably sending them off to Project Beauty Share. The things that are old, I'll obviously throw in the trash. I might let my multiple? I might let my friends and family look through them and see if they want anything, but most of the people that I know don't really wear a ton of makeup. Before we hop into it, hi, my name is Vivian. I like talking about all things beauty. If you're new here, please like and subscribe if you aren't already. And now we can hop in. Okay, so I just have everything laid out on the ground right now. There are a lot of these that I just don't reach for. This includes all of my face palettes and everything. So why don't we start off with things that I know I'm gonna keep. Definitely keeping my Pat McGrath Celestial Odyssey palette. This was her holiday launch this year and it is honestly just stunning. It's one of my favorite like colorful palettes. So definitely keeping her. This will probably never leave my collection, honestly. Editing me here. I apologize in advance for a lot of these palettes not being focused. I didn't even realize until I went back and edited this. So sorry, bear with me. I will try to figure out my camera focusing issues for next time. Thanks. Bye. Okay, another keep is my Natasha Denona Biba palette. If you've been here a while, you know how much I love this palette and how much I love the color story. The color story being neutrals. But I really think it's just so versatile for every day, and I really like her cream to powder formulas. They are just so nice and they blend out super easily. And the shimmers are more of like an everyday shimmer. It's not like super sparkly, but I just really like this palette for every day, and it is my most expensive palette and I am never going to part with her. I definitely need to get more use out of this though. I find that I tend to kind of not use it and try to save it for like a special occasion, but that just doesn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things. Honestly, yeah, just definitely need to pull this out and use this more. Another palette I know I'm going to be keeping is my Nabla Side by Side palette. I just love this palette. It's super versatile. I love the cool tones, the warm tones, the pinky tones in here. I just really love this palette. It's a super nice palette and I highly recommend. Also gonna keep my Cosmetics Divine Skies eyeshadow palette. This is in the shade Rodin, and again, just a very pretty everyday neutrals palette, but still just like stunning, and I like how small and compact it is, and I would definitely take this traveling with me. Let's do something I'm gonna get rid of. I'm gonna get rid of this Undone Beauty Curator Eye Quad. The color story really just didn't make sense to me, and I just don't use it. I am probably never going to use it, and so I would rather just give this away to someone who would appreciate it a little bit more. Okay, another thing I'm gonna get rid of is the Natasha Denona Mini Zendo. I don't know, like, it's nice. I love Natasha Denona's formula, but this is just not a color story I reach for, and I would rather give this away to someone who would appreciate it more. So I'm gonna get rid of this one. Palettes that I'm not getting rid of. This is the Beauty Bay Utopia palette. It's very bright, or these are very bright like neon shades, but I love these for like fun looks that I do. Just overall a very fun palette, and they're quite pigmented for the colors, which I really enjoy. So keeping the Utopia palette, And in the same vein, I'm going to keep the pastels palette, which again, they're very bright shades, but they're actually quite pigmented for these types of colors. And yeah, I just really like these palettes. I will probably never get rid of these, even though I know that I'm probably never gonna hit pan on them. They're still nice to have. I'm gonna get rid of this Juvia's Place, the Warrior 3 palette. It's not something I reach for. The pan sizes are huge, and I do not support Juvia's Place as a brand anymore. So I'm gonna get rid of it. Hopefully someone else can get better use out of it. I'm gonna keep the Urban Decay Naked Wild West palette. I really like the color story of this. I think it has nice cool tones, warm tones. I like the pops of blue. I know not everyone loves Urban Decay anymore, and their formulas could be improved, but honestly, I just really like it. I think this was my first like high-end palette purchase when I first got into makeup, and it's a little bit nostalgic for me, so definitely keeping this one. I'm gonna get rid of this MAC palette. This is the Nude Artistry model, this is the MAC Art Library Nude Model palette. I just don't reach for these pinky tones very often. These browns are pretty gray toned as well, so it's just not something I reach for. It's very pretty, and I got this as a gift, so I really don't use it, and I'd rather give it to someone who would use it and love it, especially because it's like really new. Like, I've barely touched this palette. Same thing with this one. This is the MAC Dusky Rose x9 eyeshadow palette. Again, I don't really reach for these tones. They're very similar to the Nude Model palette I just showed you. This was also a gift, and yeah, I literally haven't even swatched these yet, so this is like completely brand new, and I'd rather give it to someone who would use it more than I would. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icons palette. As you can see here, I took a huge chunk out of it when I was trying to open it the other day. I really don't like it. The mattes are fine, nothing special. The shimmers are fine, nothing special. The shimmers are actually not my favorite shimmers. They're very lackluster. They're not, I never really see them on the eyes. So it's just not my favorite palette, and I would not reach for this over some of my e.l.f. bite-sized quads. Speaking of e.l.f. bite-sized quads, I have 3 of them here. This is my favorite one. This one is Cream and Sugar. Just very nice everyday shadows. The shimmers are super pretty, and it's like $3, so can you go wrong with these? I think not. Some other e.l.f. bite-sized quads. This is in Rose Water. It's this mauve tone, like rosy tones. Again, I just don't really like rosy tones on myself, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And then this one, I don't really use this, especially because the browns are a little bit too warm for my liking, and the blue is too dark for like an all over the lid shimmer. So it's just not my favorite color story, and I probably won't use this. A palette I'm gonna keep is this Maybelline Nudes of New York palette. It's just a good staples neutrals palette from the drugstore specifically. I feel like most of my palettes are more high-end, but I do like it. I have gotten a decent amount of use out of it. These shadows are pretty powdery too, so I feel like it'd be pretty easy to hit pan on them if I put this in my project pan. But you can see there's like, hopefully you can see there's a pretty big dent on this shade here and this shade up here. So I don't know, hopefully I'll be able to make more progress out of this. Another thing I'm gonna get rid of is this Lancome palette. This is the Color Design Ombre Effects Sensationals palette. I don't use this. The color story is fine. The packaging is broken, and this was also a gift, and I would rather give it to someone who would actually like it and would actually use it. this Clinique Color Surge eyeshadow duo in Strawberry Fudge. Probably never gonna use it. I don't like pinky tones. I don't like this like weird sponge tip brush they got going on here, and just not something I want to reach for. So into donation it goes. This is the Misha Cotton Contour. The reason I had this with my eyeshadow is because it is too light as an actual contour shade. I don't know if you can see that, but you can barely see it on my skin, so it just doesn't work as a contour shade. But I figured maybe I could use it to set like my eyeshadow primer or anything like that. But I don't reach for it. I don't use it. I don't use eyeshadow primer that often. So I am going to give this away. These are my ColourPop Super Shock shadows. This one is in the shade Ritz, which is kind of known to be a dupe for Urban Decay Space Cowboy. A very pretty, very glimmery topper shade. It's starting to dry out, but that's okay. And this is in the shade Fine Pearl, which is also just a very pretty like topper shade. This one isn't as glittery as Ritz, but the sheen it gives is just really pretty. I don't know if you can see that. Also keeping these two, this is my Kosas 10-second eyeshadow in the shade Globe. This is the original formula. They do have a newer formula, which I do have one shade of because I got it in the clean set, like the Sephora clean set during the sale, the Sephora VIB sale. And I haven't compared the formulas yet, but honestly, this is so pretty. I'm running out of space. This shade is just so pretty. I really like the metallic effect it has. It's this one right here. I will keep this for as long as I can until it goes bad. Next is this little mini size of the Laura Mercier Caviar Eye Stick in the shade Au Naturel. I use this as an eyeshadow primer. That's basically it. It's a little mini, so I don't have like a ton of product in here, but I really like this formula. It's super long lasting, so we're keeping her. Obviously, this is my Auric Glow Lust in the shade Defiance. Keeping because it is stunning, even though I haven't reached for it lately, and I feel like I should. Like, just look at how pretty that is. And Auric's packaging is just supreme. So, keeping, never getting rid of. These are just eyeshadow primers. I keep all my small single shadows in this little container here. This is my Makeup Revolution, this time Soph collab. I'm gonna keep it just because it has like the real like Roji Biv tones, like just very rainbow colors. This color here in Lockdown does not show up on my skin. No matter how hard I try, it barely shows up. So that shade for me is kind of a dud, but everything else is super pretty. I like that it has a white and a black, and the shimmers are pretty as well. That shade Dreamy is super pretty. So I'm gonna keep this just because it's nice to have like a rainbow palette in case I want to do fun looks over on my Instagram. So these ColourPop palettes, I got all of these in the State of Play collection, keeping all of them because they're just very nice monochromatic palettes. I like going coconuts for every day too because it's nice and neutral, and I like this. I tend to take this when I'm traveling. Yeah, it's just perfect for every day. Not much else I can say about that. And the rest of these, like I said, they're just very pretty monochromatic palettes, and I like creating looks with them. I will say that I haven't reached for the Baby Got Peach palette. I don't really like peachy tones on me. I don't know why. This color story just isn't my favorite, but it's still a very pretty palette and I kind of want it to be part of the set. So I'm gonna keep it anyway. Okay, so last up here are these face palettes. This is the Benefits Cheek Leader palette. It has a Hua bronzer, Dandelion Dallas, and California blushes. The blushes are all super pretty. The bronzer can look just a tiny bit like orange on me sometimes if I go super heavy-handed, but that's usually not like an issue. But this highlighter, I do not like this highlighter at all. It's too metallic for my liking, so I feel like this area is just wasted space, but everything else is super pretty. So I'm gonna keep this one. This Hourglass one, I straight up hate. It does not show up on my skin at all. Like, this is me trying to build up that pigment. You can barely see it on my finger, and I'm trying to find a space to swatch it. So like, let's go right here. You can barely see it. It barely shows up. And so I, for one, hate that. I feel like Hourglass has a history of not being inclusive with their shade ranges. The blush is a little bit more pigmented and shows up just a tiny bit better. I don't really reach for this ambient lighting setting powder because I don't reach for this palette because nothing else matches me. So I'm gonna keep it because it was expensive and I want to try and use it. Like, maybe I could use the bronzer as an eyeshadow, and maybe I can actually use this powder as like an actual finishing powder instead of just letting it sit here. But yeah, I really hate this palette. I think I might hate pan it just because I want to get use out of it, but I just don't like it. Hourglass is not a cheap brand, and I think they are insane for charging those prices. So this is a Z palette that I got from Ulta. The only thing I have in here is this highlighter. This is the Maybelline highlighter. I don't know the actual name of it because I never wrote it down, but I don't reach for this anymore. It's a pretty highlighter. It's like this rose gold. I just don't reach for these shades anymore. So I think I might declutter it but keep the Z palette, but I don't know how to declutter it because it's like just in this tin because I depotted it. So this is a declutter, but I don't know what to do with this. If you know what to do with this, please let me know. And those are all of the eyeshadows. I am gonna put these back, which, let me see if I can show you how I store these. Okay, so what I have here is just a little trolley cart. I just put all of my eyeshadow palettes on this top area. I'll shove that there. And these actually go in my drawer. While we're here, let's actually do my foundation declutter. So I just keep my foundations in this little compartment here. Bare Minerals Original Foundation. This is too dark for me. This is in the shade Golden Nude. Since it is too dark for me, I don't reach for it. So I'm going to declutter another foundation. This is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-hour fresh wear. This is in the shade 425 Linen. This is actually too light for me. That was kind of a lot. Definitely too light for me, so I just don't reach for it, and I feel like this could go to a better home. These are the Fenty eavesdrops. Really love these. Honestly, it's very satin and like nice for every day. I actually think that's the only foundation I'm gonna declutter. I really like all the other ones I have. This is the LYS Triple Fix Serum Foundation. This is the Kosas Revealer Foundation. This is the L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Serum Foundation. I really like the way this looks. This is definitely too light. So actually, I think I'm gonna declutter this as well. This is the CoverGirl Clean Matte BB Cream. I actually haven't reached for this in a while, and it's a little bit too dark. So I think I'm gonna get rid of it. This is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. It's just a nice everyday tinted moisturizer, so I'm gonna keep it. This is the Undone Matte Tint, which also just I really like the way this looks on my skin. And this is the Perrido Secret Clearing BB Cream. This is in the shade 27, I believe. And also just a very nice, kind of higher coverage foundation. So out of all of that, I now only have 6 foundations out of, how much did I get rid of? 10. So I think that's pretty good. And as for palettes, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'm only keeping 17 foundations 17, 18 palettes, and I got rid of a lot. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. I think I'm gonna divide this up into parts actually. So stay tuned. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!